General weather pattern as we slip on into the middle of the month of October, peak of harvest season across much of southern Canada, northern plains, upper Midwest. Well, it's cooling down as it does. We lose sunlight. It's not going to stay as warm. But the interesting thing is that overall, it's really not that chilly of an October weather pattern, nor are we seeing a lot of moisture replenishing storms. For the upper Midwest, southern Canada, northern plains, it's a fairly dry weather pattern. Now, there are some exceptions. Of course, the moisture situation, soil-wise, varies greatly from quite wet in many areas of southern Canada to quite dry in some parts of the Dakotas and sort of just about right in some parts of the upper Midwest. So let's see what the weather is doing. Right now, we have split flow, the southern or subtropical jet stream beginning to make its implant into the weather world, as it usually does as we get into cooler weather in the fall. It's actually been there, but I think now I'll demark it on the maps because it's starting to have more of an impact on the weather pattern. The primary polar jet is still pretty far north, and that's going to keep most of the cold weather locked up in the north. There will be a bit of a retrograde, some cooler weather coming down into the Rockies, but that's simply going to allow a Tuesday, Wednesday warm up into the upper Midwest and northern plains. This will bring temperatures into the 70s into North Dakota and Wisconsin for a day or two around the middle of the week, and might even pull some 80s to near 90 up into southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. But as this trough begins to form, cooler weather will start dropping down into the Rockies, and interestingly enough, we're going to get what we call a closed low, or it looks like this circulation will separate itself from the northern jet stream, pull that cool weather down into the south, but the presence of this cold low keeps the two primary jet streams separate and really keeps the weather patterns relatively weak, which is why I'm not looking for a lot of dramatic weather, nor am I looking for much in terms of precipitation with this weather pattern. By the weekend, the hot weather goes back south, but the cold weather stays up north, and we're looking at relatively mild temperatures, except, of course, the cool down into the northern Rockies. Into the second week now, which is past the midpoint of the month, they're still looking at split flow, looking at no real temperature changes. The hot weather stays along the Gulf. There will be some cool downs into the Great Lakes, but I don't see this being any type of seriously cold weather pattern. I also don't see it looking terribly stormy. There will be some moisture replenishing rains over the central and eastern Corn Belt. There will be some snows that come down through the spine of the Rocky Mountains, but most of the northern plains, southern Canada, look fairly dry. And the second week, it also looks fairly dry. We'll start getting some seasonal snows in parts of Canada, but not a lot of heavy moisture expected for the month.